A delight as always to be joined by Fran Berry to discuss the feature racing action this weekend. And Fran, it's Irish Champions weekend at Leopardstown and the Curragh, and a fantastic Saturday card at Leopardstown. We're going to start with the big one, the Irish Champions Stakes, and it's just a field of four runners. But to be honest, it doesn't take anything away from the spectacle, does it? Because what a four runners we've got. It's a fascinating racing start.
Ben, it's a fascinating race, and it's going to be great this weekend at the Curragh in Leopardstown. The first time there's been a crowded Irish race in 18 months, 4,000 paying public on each occasion. And as you said, only the four runners, but the more you think about it, maybe that's all we need, because it is fascinating. St. Mark's Basilica, he's been sensational this year. We know 10 furlongs at the back of that French Derby win and the Eclipse win will suit him really well. Interesting that Aidan hasn't ran a pacemaker for him. He's just left him like he did in Sandown to his own devices, and it is his ideal go in comparison. Poetic Flair, fantastic miler. We see him just beat by Palace Pier recently. He was a superb winner to St. James's Palace when he got fast ground, which I think he really needs to be at his best. Stepping up and trip, I'm not quite sure his style of racing will really play to his strengths in the small fields. He tends to hit the stalls very quickly over a mile and really quickly into stride. Now, if he does relax, it'll be fascinating to see him up in distance. And then you have Tanara dropping back down to 10 furlongs. Okay, she's won over 10 furlongs last year in Arc Day, but that was an extremely testing ground. Her best form on fast ground is a mile and a half. So tactically, how the race is going to play out is going to be fascinating. That first furlong is going to be really interesting.
Well, let's just talk about that, because it is a key factor in this race, isn't it? Obviously, just the four runners, and none of them really have made the running much before. I know Poetic Flair went forward last time at Deauville, didn't he? Do you think it's Jim Bolger's horse who's going to be the obvious one to sort of take the bull by the horns?
He could end up there by default. The fact he's got that mile pace, he could hit the gates quickly. And in Leopardstown, there's about a 450 to 200 yards, and then there's a little kink in the rail. So if he got to that rail and just turned down the back straight, he might just find himself in front. And if he relaxes and he's not being taken on too early, it could actually, play to his strengths. Equally, Ternawa dropping down in distance, how are they going to play with her? They're going to have to inject or put stamina into the race more than speed at some point in the race.
Yeah, I loved Ternawa. She was fantastic, wasn't she, at the Breeders' Cup last year? And I just worry about her in this race over 10 with perhaps, not a fierce gallop to run out at the trip. She looks the one that could be most inconvenienced by how it all plays out over this distance.
Yes, she's a mile and a half filly with an excellent turn of foot over that trip, just back down to 10 furlongs. If to go slow, she's going to struggle. I know Connections will have the Arc in the back of their mind, but this is a fantastic Group 1 in its own right. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody took the bull by the horns, that Tanara was allowed to stride on, and you might as well be on the rail, going your own pace and building it up gradually, rather than sitting third and waiting for the pace to increase and hope that she can keep tabs on him. Patrick Sarsfield, he's gone forward on a couple of occasions. He's never made a running either in the past, but given his odds, maybe Connections might like to try and do something different. But either way, it'd be interesting how they play him. But of the three of them, St. Mark's Basilica is the one who's got a perfect setup. We seen that in Sandown at this distance.
Exactly, yeah. They didn't go quick in the Eclipse, did they? And he benefited from that by using his mile pace, and that could well be the situation again on Saturday. It's a fascinating contest. Poetic Flair stepping up to 10. It's not inconceivable that stepping up to 10 is going to bring out more improvement in him, looking at his pedigree.
Definitely not, and it could very well do. And most importantly, he's got his fast ground, as we said, and looking at his pedigree, I think 3 or 4 of his siblings by a new approach, obviously the sire of Dawn approach, have stayed this distance. So it'd be very, very interesting, and it's great to see him here on home soil on a fast surface.
So it's Thursday afternoon as we are recording, and looking at the odds, we've got St. Mark's Basilica 11-8, Tanara 13-8, Poetic Flair around 7-2, and Patrick Sarsfield, the outsider of the field, at 33-1. Is there anything looking at the odds that makes you think, well, that's the one I'm probably going to be side with come Saturday morning?
I think as we've gone through them all, Ben, I do think St. Mark's Basilica is the one. I can see him going off even money perhaps on Saturday. I think everything plays to his strengths at Leopardstown on Saturday. Okay, he's had to hold up. He missed York. That might be a slight doubt in people's minds, but I do, and I'm a big fan of all them three horses that we've spoken about, but I think everything is there for St. Mark's, and he's the one I would be backing.
Okay, a fascinating contest, and it's not the only Group 1 on the card. 140, we've got the Coolmore America Justify Matron Stakes, and I think, again, we're going to have to start with Aidan O'Brien, aren't we? Because it does look a good opportunity for Mother Earth, who's held her form so well all season.
She has indeed, and was a very good winner in Deauville when last seen, and ran a superb race when just beat by Snow Lantern in Newmarket, and of course won a Guineas. Really tough, likeable. Seems to all ground seem to come alike to her. She won the Guineas on fast ground, won in Deauville on soft ground. She's a genuine Group 1 filly, and with the greatest respect to her opposition, which includes last year's winner Champions Elysees, who is on the way back to her form. A lot of these fillies are Group 3 fillies at best, and if Mother Earth pitches up in anything like her top form, she's a very worthy favourite, Ben.
You mentioned Champions Elysees there, Fran. Have you spoke to Johnny Murter about her? Because she had such a good 3-year-old campaign, didn't she, where she improved and went on that winning sequence. But she just seems to have struggled a bit this year. Has there been any reason for that?
I think she's been slow to come to hand and find her form, and she did have a very rough trip in Newmarket when she was well beat behind Mother Earth. She got badly interfered with. Who knows where she would have finished there. Didn't look like she was going to win or anything like that, but she did bounce back at the Curragh running very well. Johnny did say that he didn't think that she got to 9 furlongs fully in the Curragh, that she was weak in the last half of furlong, but he was delighted that she'd bounced back to form and shown a bit of life and a bit of spark. And given that she only really hit top form this time last year when she was beginning to peak, it's not beyond the bounds that she could bounce back here, but I do think she's a bit more on her plate than what she's raced against recently at the Curragh.
Is there anything else in there that we should mention? I mean, Empress Josephine, it's the first run back in Ireland, isn't it, since winning the Guineas at the Curragh. She's got something to prove now. Does she need softer ground?
I definitely think so, and she's run no race really at all since. Like, she had soft ground in Ascot, she didn't show up at all, and then she ran, last in Goodwood. Question marks are out for her, and the filly that she beat in the Guineas, No Speak Alexander, is also 20-1 chance. So you'd have to have questions about the Guineas form on that occasion. For all that, Empress Josephine is a Guineas winner. No Speak Alexander was third. One of the big price, Ben, I think at a current price of definitely in excess of 33-1. Has got some very good form in defeat. Is Bella Image, or Bella Image as connections call her. She's just one that could outrun her odds, for all that she's yet to win at a higher level, but she's run very well. She's only beaten less than 2 lengths in Deauville. She ran extremely well in the Guineas as well. So she's one of them bunch of fillies that could outrun her odds. And Ed Walker's filly Dreamloper probably has plenty to do on faster ground, but given that she tends to be ridden prominently, she could go well. Pearls Galore, number 4, the second favourite at the minute. Really nice filly for Paddy Toomey, but I'd just be worried about a mile in Leopardstown for her. I think she'll make a bold bid from a prominent position, but the last 100 yards in Leopardstown could find her out at the mile on that track.
I like it. Bella Image, you say? That's an interesting pronunciation, but
yeah, it's very French, very French, not Irish anyway. But I think that's Connection's preference, I'm told anyway.
Yeah, but hard to see past Mother Earth, really.
Genuinely it is, because as I said, she's a proper, solid Group 1 filly, a high class filly at the mile trip, and a lot of these, okay, they are taking a step up in class, but they just look solid Group 3 fillies, which we'd all love to own, but with the greatest respect, I don't think they're in Mother Earth's class. Now, Leopardstown, that said, can get very tactical. The mile around there with a decent sized field can often have a lot of hard luck stories, and from stall 2 for the favourite, she's just going to have to get it away and get a good position. But we've seen that she can do that in the past, but it can sometimes, the track can lend itself to hard luck stories. But I do think Mother Earth will be suited by the test around there.
Yeah, a strong favourite, Mother Earth in the Matron Stakes. Looking at the rest of the card, Fran, we've got the Paddy Power Stakes Group 3 at 3:15, and this looks an interesting contest.
Yeah, a really good race, and a Group 3 name only. I think it'll be a higher quality than that, with some really likable horses. For Bearings, who won in York recently, winning the Galtres Stakes, interesting coming back here. And Earlswood for Johnny Murta really ran really well in the Irish Derby at this trip. Didn't get the best runs at a vital stage. Kept on to be fourth behind Hurricane Lane. He bounced back at the Curragh over 10 furlongs and was a ready winner, showing a really, really good turn of foot put the race to bed. And stepping back up to mile and a half, he will be interesting. However, there was a horse that was just behind him, beaten 3 1/4 lengths on that occasion, and it's number 2, Inish Free, trained by Ian O'Brien. We hadn't seen him for effectively 18 months, 20 months, and after running second to Camico in the Vartan Futurity when he was running Newcastle on the Tapeta, he made a very, very eye-catching debut in that race behind Earlswood at Curragh. He was the best finisher. He worked his way through the field and he went through the line strongly. If coming forward from that, which you would expect, he's had a nice break between runs, 30 days, effectively a month. He could be very, very interesting. He looked a real, the talk was early season last year, he was the best Ballydoyle 3-year-old in the spring. He obviously missed all of his 3-year-old campaign, most of his 4-year-old campaign, but back in a Group 3 contest on Saturday, he could take quite a bit of beating. But Earlswood, maximum respect for him also.
Innisfree, full brother to High Definition, isn't he? Who runs in the Ledger.
That's right. And High Definition, I see the cheap piece are gone on to try and make him a bit sharper. Yes,
they are indeed. We shall see what happens at Doncaster. Right then, Fran, selections on not selections, but any other thoughts on the rest of the card?
Yes, we'll be doing a column ahead of racing on Saturday, and we'll finesse it a bit better when we get more prices. But a couple of horses we'll be looking at, Ben, in the 1240. The Paddy Toomey trained Limity de Grecio was a very good winner over course and distance on the first run for the stable. She is drawn out in stall 10 here today, but she overcame a wide draw on her win there the last day. And in the 110, that's a cracking 2-year-old race, but I'd be looking closely at Buckaroo, number 3, trained by Joseph O'Brien. He was a really good winner in Galway on a track that wouldn't have suited him. I think he's going to improve a lot for that experience. And in a couple of handicaps, which are going to take a lot of digging down, we'll be looking for a bit of value, but the obvious one is number 12 in the 345 race is Hook Up. Willie Mullins' runner. Ryan Moore's booked to ride. He's 3 or 4 runners in the race, Willie, but Hook Up was quite unlucky in Galway from a wide draw. The big amateur handicap, everything went wrong on the day first. She had a horrible trip around, finished off really well to be 4th. Ryan Moore booked, as I said, she's going to be very, very popular in the market, and I can see why. And in the last race, number 10, this horse you know well, Riot, trained by Johnny Murta, formerly trained by John Gosden, last seen in England, running third in the Buckingham Palace Royal Ascot. He made a really eye-catching Irish debut over 6 furlongs at Dundalk on the all-weather when he stayed on really well in the dying stages, and back up to 7 furlongs on Saturday. Decent draw in stall 9. He will be very popular.
I predict a riot. Right then, Fran. Last question. Who would you rather back on Saturday? St. Mark's Basilica or Mother Earth?
I genuinely think I'd double them, Ben.
I was I was half expecting that answer. I thought he was going to be bullish about both here.
I do, all things being equal, think they've got everything in their favour. Maybe even more so Mother Earth, even against a bigger field. I think tactics in the Irish Champion Stakes is really going to be fascinating. There'll be a lot of mind games pre-race, who's doing what are you going to do? And I think when it comes down to it, all things being equal, everything is there for St. Mark's Basilica. Trip, track, pace, it should suit him best. And I'd be disappointed if he doesn't win, but given the way the race develops, it'll be fascinating, and we could see, not a shock, but we could see a cracking finish, I think. And if you'd ask me to back one on Saturday outside of them two, I think Buckaroo is a horse I have a lot of time for. It's a deep race, but if he's anywhere near a 5-1 chance or something like that with the 10 runners, I'd be very keen on him each way at least.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot to Fran. And we'll be back to preview day 2 of Irish Champions Weekend at the Curragh on Sunday.